Hello and welcome to Full Package Production, Sport Chill Out. So this is our fourth session in the Expo 2021, second session of day 2. And today we're going to be showcasing suppliers specializing in full package production for casual sport, loungewear and more. So we're tapping into the trend that we're seeing, burgeoning trend for loungewear, for sport, for chill out, where we've seen, despite the pandemic, both brands and suppliers increasing production, doing really well, despite the limitations of the global pandemic. In this session, I'd like to introduce some of the people we'll be hearing from. So myself, I founded Common Objectives some years ago. Prior to that, I founded the Ethical Fashion Forum. And it's great to see many familiar faces in the room. We'll hear from Andy Rogers, who's our head of suppliers, introducing some of the fantastic suppliers that are part of this session. Laurent Frederic-Loman, who manages our partnerships and will share some of the latest trends. And then in the Q&A session, we'll hear from Mark Bloom, who's the managing director and founder of Komodo, the original fashion brand, and Prama Bhardwaj, who's founder of Mantis World. So the agenda for the session: we're going to start with trends, give you an overview of the opportunities in the sector, what kind of statistics we're seeing in this particular product focus. And we'll follow that up with a Q&A with experts. So we will hear from Prama and we'll hear from Komodo, around what they're doing in this sector, what's working, tips and recommendations for other people in the room who are trying to make it work in sustainable production of products which are relevant to today's session. They'll then hear introductions from our suppliers. So Andy will introduce them and you'll hear directly from some of them who are in the room, who've joined us from all over the world. And in the second part of the session, we'll have breakout sessions. So that will allow you to join a breakout room. And just a note to say that it's an advantage for you to download Zoom if you haven't already, to allow you to access that breakout room. That's where we divide the group into smaller groups so that you can connect with suppliers you're interested in, ask your questions and get them answered, or then move back into the main room to wrap up. So just a couple of pointers on making the most of Expo. If you haven't already, please do share who you are in the chat. If you represent the organization and where you're from. This is a community and we're all about connecting people and building relationships. You can also connect and bookmark. So we launched messaging on Co only last month. And if you, as a member of the Co network, you can message anybody. It's a bit like a LinkedIn for sustainable fashion. Now on to how you can make the most of Co. So I know that a lot of you in the room at the moment are already members of the Common Objective platform, and it's wonderful to have you as part of the community. If you've come into the session and you're not yet a member of Co, you can join in a couple of minutes, and it's really an advantage to do so because this is an important part of the offering of Co Expo. We're a bit like a LinkedIn for sustainable fashion. You can create a profile for yourself. So when you sign up to Co, it will ask you to click on certain things that build up a profile for what you're interested in, what you have to offer yourself and as a business. And then you're matched on your dashboard with suppliers, with buyers, with experts, with content. We have over 300 resources to support you in sustainable sourcing. You can also connect and message with any individual or business. So if you go to a business profile and click message, you'll see who on that business is part of the Co network, and you can message them directly. You can also bookmark suppliers. So anytime as we go through today's session, we will be presenting suppliers and we will be posting their Co link in the chat. So if you've got a Co open, you can bookmark them and save them if they're of interest to you. You can also connect with them directly there. And that's a bit like a business card. Business profiles, so relevant to both brands and suppliers. All the suppliers taking part in today's session have a business profile on Co. You can create a profile for free on the site. It presents who you are and what you do in a really concise way. You can upload information about your products. And more importantly, we have a ranking system on Co. So one of the core missions of the site and our organization is to turn sustainability from a cost into an opportunity. So the more sustainable your business, the higher its search ranking will be on the site. And this really makes a difference. So we see that our highest ranking businesses get up to 2,700% more views than the lowest ranking ones. It really makes a difference to how you fare on the site. And how do you get a higher ranking? Complete the section, the business mode profile, and particularly the sustainability section. You'll see that in the supplier profiles that we're promoting today, there's a lot of information about what they're doing, including where they're going, their roadmap, their policies. And whether you're a brand or supplier, you will be eligible for the Co Awards, the Co Leadership Awards. Many of the suppliers showcasing today are winners of the awards. Awards status, all you need to do is create a business profile. There's more information on that. There are 6 criteria by which we review businesses against our leadership criteria. One of the Co team will post a link in the chat so you can check that out. Whether you're a brand or a supplier, creating your business profile will automatically enter you into the awards. Complete it and you can win an award that increases your ranking, gets you promotion across our network. And finally, resources and training. We have housed all the exhibitors from today in a Co Expo exhibitor hub. So you can find them there, you can connect with them. And in that hub, we've also collected some resources that will help you to source and produce in the most sustainable way. There's some key articles in there. We have webinars that support you, and we're also going to be uploading recordings and slides from all of these sessions that we're going through now. So I would, with that, like to pass you on to Laurent, who's our head of partnerships, who's going to give you a little introduction to trends and statistics and things you need to know in the sustainable fashion sector related to the topic of today.
Tamsin, thank you so much. And of course, from my side, also a very warm welcome to the session today, the sport and chill out overview and the market and future market trends. That's what we're going to talk about in the next few minutes. Now, we've all been living through and with a pandemic for quite some time now. Now, I want to focus a little bit on how that pandemic has actually impacted sports and chill out. The pandemic looks to have a lasting impact on home working, first and foremost, and that's not that much of a surprise. After all, we all know what Zoom is, and we've been doing this for many months now. Stats from FlexJobs show that 41.8% of American workforce continue to work remotely, and 22% of the workforce will be working remotely by 2025. So we're looking at long-term, let's say, long-term development there. This is a staggering 87% increase from the number of remote workers prior to the pandemic. Again, FlexJobs is the source for this information. It's a similar pattern in the UK, as a matter of fact, with over a quarter of Brits planning to continue working remotely after restrictions are lifted. And I think UK and the US are not the only ones there. This, of course, is being reflected in a surge in sales of loungewear, and people forego office attire and instead opt for comfort, or sometimes even comfort, or let's say office attire that has a little bit more of a comfortable edge to it. Pangaea's success, for instance, is a testament to the shift in dressing. In 2020, the material scene company, known for its sweatshirt made from innovative sustainable fabrics such as seaweed, as well as its celebrity Hollywood following, it generated 75 million in revenue in 2020 while remaining profitable, and even gained 100 times more followers on social media. The brand's been so popular, as a matter of fact, that each launch and restock gets snapped up, and the botanical tracksuits, for instance, they sold out within 15 minutes alone. Likewise, the British sustainable brand Komodo doubled its year-on-year sales during the first UK lockdown in 2020. And with that, I think it is time to introduce our speakers, and I'm handing back the virtual microphone to you, Tamsin.
Thank you so much. So we have the great privilege to have two brilliant speakers joining us. Prama Bhardwaj, she's a founder and CEO of Mantis World, one of the founding members of the Ethical Fashion Forum, and supporters and pioneers of this movement for many years, and a winner of a leadership award at the same time. We also have Mark Bloom joining us from Komodo. So I'm going to start with you, Prama. I know you're in the room. Welcome. Thank you so much. And if we could just navigate to Prama's slides on the slideshow. Prama, I'd love to ask you to tell us a little bit about Mantis World and the way that you work with suppliers and customers.
Sure. Can you hear me? Because I can't
Yes,
see you
loud and clear.
Brilliant. Okay, great. Hi, Tamsin, and
Hi.
thank you for having me. It's lovely to be back here at another event, which of course when we met each other, it was the Ethical Fashion Forum, and now here we are doing things in a very high-tech way with Co. So thanks very much. I'm delighted to be here. Very briefly about what we do as Mantis World. It was founded, well, I founded Mantis World 21 years ago now. And we supply blank apparel to the imprint industry. So some of our garments you can see there, there's t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and a lot of baby wear. So our clients include merchandise companies, corporate wear, and more than ever, we're seeing independent fashion brands, particularly those interested in sustainability, as a big part of our client base. So what we have is we hold in stock all these lovely garments, but they are blank and they are designed to be customized so any brand can pick any of them up with no minimum order quantity and get them decorated and designed locally. So you get the advantages of offshoring plus the advantages of nearshoring at the same time. Our credentials in sustainability go back a long way. We were the first in our industry to introduce organic cotton back in 2005. And by 2019, we had transitioned so that absolutely every garment we produce is made with either organic or recycled fibers. Another thing that we do that very, very few companies in our industry do is we manufacture in Africa, particularly in our family-owned factory in Tanzania, which was set up by my grandfather back in 1965. So that offers a fully vertical supply chain with organic cotton grown by local farm groups, and everything else is done in-house in our factory in Arusha, Tanzania. More recently, what we've done is we launched another innovation for our industry, which is an impact calculator. So you can now go onto our website and have a look at any of our products, and you can actually see how much of our product will save on 4 key metrics that we picked, which were carbon dioxide, pesticide use, water use, and energy use. And what we've also done is we've created QR codes that sit in the garment care seam. So anybody along the chain, our clients, and their clients can see the provenance of the garments. So that shows you the impact savings on the 4 metrics I just mentioned, but also it gives complete transparency. So you can just flick through and see exactly where each stage of production happened. And all of that is on a white label microsite. So there's no mention of Mantis World. It's designed so that brands can use it as their own.
Amazing. Incredibly innovative, and I think inspiring and useful for many of the participants in this room. I have another question for you, which is relating to how you have fared during COVID-19. What sort of trends have you seen, and what products are doing well in the pandemic?
Yeah, so I hope you can all hear me. Please shout if you can't.
Loud and clear.
But in answer to great. So in answer to your question, what we did see eventually is that obviously the high street retail was a bit of a bloodbath, and has been for a long time. So sales really migrated to online, and that has benefited the independent fashion brands hugely, I think. In terms of product, we've also seen that, you know, what this whole session is about, loungewear, comfy clothes have really, really increased in sales. And for us, we've seen the biggest spike ever on the sale of baby wear. because particularly with lockdown, grandparents, for example, couldn't meet their grandchildren. So there was a lot of gifting going on in baby wear. And we also believe that this lockdown reset has actually created a much bigger demand for organic and sustainable products, while everyone's just had a moment to sit and breathe and reevaluate what their priorities are. So in the end, 2020 was actually a record year for us, which is very different from what I would have predicted in March 2020 when lockdown was announced.
Amazing. Thank you, Prama. Final question. What makes a great supplier-buyer relationship for you? When does it work? What are the elements of success?
Well, in my 20 plus years, I've just whittled it down to something really simple. It's exactly what makes every relationship work. And that is honesty, trust, mutual respect, and keeping an eye on the long haul rather than looking for short-term gains. So, the lockdown was, I think, an eye-opener for many suppliers around the world who in the past perhaps were always chasing the large volume orders and the big buyers. And when lockdown happened and a lot of these big brands were cancelling orders that were perhaps already produced or already shipped, they were delaying deliveries, they were extending payment terms, they were demanding they were demanding money off. I think that opened suppliers' eyes a lot to how unethical, supposedly ethical brands can be. So for a brand like us, who have always valued long-term partnerships, we made it very clear to all our suppliers that we were not going to cancel or ask for discounts because of the pandemic. And that has actually really, I think, made suppliers reevaluate who they prioritize. And we now find that they are not only more willing to work with us, even if we have smaller volumes, but we actually get priority. So at the moment, there is a big crisis with organic cotton that I'm sure everybody knows about. And basically, our suppliers have said, we're not accepting any new orders from any new customers for organic, we're keeping it for you. So they have an eye on us and making sure our long-term future is secured too. And that's happened over that long time is it's become a two-way street in terms of guidance and advice. So, for example, with the crisis in organic, we've leveraged our contacts and our relationships to help our suppliers source organic cotton. And we constantly encourage and inspire them to improve their performance in terms of sustainability. And what we found is, although that might be difficult for them, in the end, they come back and they tell us that they've actually won business as a result because they've improved their sustainable performance. So it really is a win-win.
Thank you so much. Inspiring as always. If you have questions for Prama, post them in the chat. We do have a breakout session. I don't know if you're able to stay for it, Prama, but we have other members of the Mantis World team, in particular, Laura Parrott, who will be joining that session and can answer your questions or tell you more. But certainly we've seen some incredible partnerships happening between Mantis World and other brands over the years. So looking forward to more of that happening as a result of this session, hopefully. Thank you, Prama. We also have in the room Mark Bloom from Komodo. Thank you for joining us. Wonderful to see you in your shiny studio with all the clothes behind.
I wasn't sure you could see me because I can see you and I'm seeing the Mantis World page. Oh, okay. And there, I still can't see me, but anyway, as long as you. Oh yes, there I am. Okay, so you can see me.
We've tagged you at the top.
Great. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, so we would, wonderful to have you in the room. So Komodo, as I'd mentioned at the beginning, is the original sustainable ethical fashion brand. Mark, do you want to share a little bit about your story and what you do, and then particularly how Komodo's done during COVID-19 and how you've remained successful despite the pandemic?
Gosh, the story, there's a lot of story, but I suppose my story is that we kind of, people talk about starting from the ground upwards, and that's certainly true in my case. I really started the story literally buying things and putting them in my backpack as I traveled around. We started the business here in the UK out of a market stall in Camden Market. We, you know, so our relationships, I suppose, you know, from that very basic level and upwards. And I suppose, I think in the lockdown, you know, as Prama was saying, you know, the honesty and the sort of personality of your relationship with the suppliers is what keeps it going and makes it sustainable. So, you know, you need to be talking to each other. You need to have, you know, it helps to have a good history. I think I would add, as I often do, you know, the most important thing for your suppliers is paying them, you know, very well and on time or in advance, or, you know, as helpfully as you can. I think that a lot of the big, she was talking about, you know, big brands and big suppliers cancelling all their orders. They you know, they just, as routines, stretch out their payments and stretch out the pressure on their suppliers, whether you're a brand supplier here into the UK high street, which we used to be many years ago. I haven't done it for a long time. Or, you know, if you're a factory also supplying big suppliers, you know, that's just what they do, and it's just really stressful for suppliers. So, you know, you've got to make the money go around as quickly as you can, and, you know, you're a major part of that chain. So that, you know, once lockdown came, obviously my original first concern, and it came in March, the end of March, where we'd already delivered all the spring summer goods into the stores, and then the stores were suddenly closed, and we're thinking, now then, what, you know, what happens to your normal? We normally give our suppliers, sort of, our customers, sort of 60 days generally. You know, but if they were closed for nearly all of that time, how can you then ask them for the money? So you needed to have a good relationship with your customers. You know, try and figure out who were the strong ones who were able to be more helpful, and who were the weak ones that you needed to give more support to, and filter the funds through to your suppliers in the same way. So, you know, as much understanding as could be had on either way, but yeah, it's like that. And then I suppose, I don't know, then, you know, as the online business took on, you know, much to our relief and surprise when we realized all the shops were closed, you know, it took a little while before the online orders started pinging through at a much faster rate. And we thought, oh, okay, you know, maybe we're not going to end up with a warehouse full of stock after all. You know, and we juggled and we managed and we, you know, but I think experience of a market trader, or, you know, going to do any kind of public facing sales, you learn how to juggle. You learn how to, you know, that's what you're really good at, is juggling. And you know, not saying I'm a clown or anything, but
and in the end, so your sales were actually up on what you had anticipated, and we're seeing this. I mean, interesting to hear the same from Prama and from other brands in the space.
Yeah, at the end of the season, we were a bit up, and winter also was like, oh, okay, that worked out all right. And now summer 21 also is looking fine, and winter 21, you know, about getting ready to ship the goods is also pretty healthy. So yeah, remarkably, I think we've been quite lucky with the timings in just the way the lockdowns have affected the main European countries here, which is our main selling market. It's been more trying and difficult this last few months with the suppliers from Nepal, from India, you know, trying to cater to their problems is challenging, and, you know, how much delay there's going to be. And, you know, we're unfortunately going to have to fly things that we used to, you know, that we have been shipping by sea, and there's, you know, you've got to do what you've got to do, which is not what we would normally choose to do. But that's, you know, India is especially South India has been locked down. I don't know, it's open now, but it's, you know, it's been nearly 2 months of time taken out of the production schedule. So, you know, thankfully our suppliers are pulling out all the stops and trying hard, you know, okay, we, you know, doing their best to catch up. But, you know, there's so many people involved. It's, you know, it's not just sourcing the cotton and the material, but there are dyers and printers and weavers and knitters and cutters and sewers and stitchers, and, you know, everybody's got to come together at the same time. And, you know, you've got to be quite sensitive to how much you push when you know that their situation is so difficult. But
so just going back to the topic of this session, I mean, you've built relationships with suppliers over decades, and you must have learned a lot from that. I mean, what makes a great supplier partnership for you? What do you look for in a supplier?
I mean, at the beginning, you know, so most of my suppliers we've been with for, as you say, you know, years, if not decades, and so, you know, I don't know, you know, you're so ingrained with them, you don't even really consider anybody else. You know what I mean? You know, it's part of your team. You just don't think. When you look for a new supplier, which happens occasionally, it's, you know, there's something you're looking for a new provider, then I guess, you know, in a way, the sort of information that comes from your platform is quite useful. You know, have they got a GOTS license? Have they got, you know, what's the level are they at? Are we suitable for each other? You know, there's no point in choosing a supplier that's, you know, as soon as they start saying, oh, we supply Marks and Spencers, and, you know, I look away at that point, because there's no way that somebody that's working at that end of the industry on that scale is going to really be happy with the sort of business that I can give them. So we're not a good match, you know, almost automatically. You know, on the other, you know, you've got to find a suitable match. At least the numbers look like they stack up. Then, yeah, then you need to get on with each other. You need to be able to chat and talk things through and figure out, you know, okay, their minimum requirement is this and our commitment is this, but you know, it didn't work out on this line and on that line, and, you know, you've got to be flexible. You know, they've got to be flexible, we've got to be flexible. So it's give and take on both sides, and you know, you manage and you build, and you know, as Prama was saying, you know, you've got to have a long-term view. If you're only working with a supplier thinking it's going to be 1 or 2 seasons, well, yeah, you know, it's not really a honest, it's not what they want. It's not an honest relationship, really.
Any final recommendations for the audience? Maybe things that you've learned that you wouldn't do, or things that you've learned that you always do when you're engaging with suppliers?
Gosh, I don't know. Be nice. Start. Be clear. You know. Yeah. I mean, you know, obviously, the more experience you've got, we're clear what we want. We're clear what we don't want. You know, don't leave room for ambiguity, and be clear about what we're going to provide for them. You know, I think, you know, there's you don't want a surprise halfway through. Oh, you know, we thought you were going to send us all the labels, tags, this, that. We thought you were going to pay us more earlier. We thought you were going to extend the shipping time. You know, there's got to be clarity. You've got to uphold your end of the bargain. You've got to recognize that when you start making little changes, oh, can we just have an extra, you know, a few of these and a few of those and a few dozen of those, and, you know, that's could be a problem for them. That, you know, might not be a small thing that you're asking for. So, you know, or can you divide the order into all these different parts? And, you know, you've got to be straight from the start as to what you're asking them to do, and, you know, what you can expect of them and what they can expect of you. And yeah, you know, I don't know, just, you know, in theory it's simple. In practice it's never quite that simple, but as long as you're all, you know, on the same page, fighting on the, you know, you're all part of the same team. I think, you know, you've got to see them as part of your team, and you've got to try to make them feel that, you know, they're also part of the team, and we're all trying to, you know, achieve a growth and a good result. And, you know, I think that's a good way to look at it. And,
thank you.
Respect on both sides.
Thank you so much. Definitely a running theme that we're seeing throughout Co-Expo, that this is all about win-win partnerships, treating your suppliers as a team, building relationships that are based on trust and goodwill. And so, well, I hope in the next session we can introduce you to some suppliers that will create those partnerships, those fantastic matches that deliver value for both parties. So I'm going to pass you on to Andy, our head of suppliers, who's going to share with you some of the suppliers, other suppliers that we've got represented in this session. We'll hear from them too, and then we'll move into breakout sessions. Thank you, Prama, and thank you, Mark.
Brilliant. Okay, really excited to introduce you to some suppliers now. The content of these slides are a snapshot of the business profiles on common objectives. So as we go through this, Monisha is going to post a link to each profile on Co, so you can all click on that to find out more and to connect with the people who you hear from. We are going to introduce them very briefly, and then the representatives in the room who work for these businesses are going to share a little bit about what makes them stand out. And then after this, we're going to have breakout sessions where you can have an opportunity to ask some questions and to discuss the themes further, to discuss how possibly you could source from them. So first up, we have Deeps Textiles, who are in Kolkata, India, and they've been implementing zero waste initiatives since 2018. And they produce a variety of products, including athleisure wear, using recycled polyester and organic cotton. Now, I don't think we have anyone from Deeps here. If we do, could you speak up now? Okay, so they are Fair Trade certified under FlowCert, and they are also GOTS certified. So next up, we've got Knitwin, and I know Vincent's in the room. Knitwin Fashion aims to provide safe and empowering work opportunities to their community while promoting sustainable manufacturing processes. They advise and work with brand partners to analyze their impact, to reduce it, and promote materials and processes that have minimal impact on the environment. So excited to hear more from Vincent.
Hi, Andy. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. So Knitwin Fashion, we're a full package manufacturer since 1996. We work with both woven and knits. We work mostly with organic cotton, lensing fibers, and recycled polyester. We specialize in children wear. We do about 50% of what we do is for children wear brands. We do also a little bit of men, a little bit of women. I would say the very particular thing that we do that most of our competitors don't do is that we don't simply just buy fabrics. We work with fiber, we work with yarn, we work with the dyeing. I think so. We're based in Tirupur, which is one of the biggest hub for textile and garment manufacturing in India. And I think that allows us to develop amazing relationship with all the people in our supply chain. So I think part of our success is linked to the fact that we get to control exactly the quality of the fabric that we produce. Yeah, I guess that's about it. In terms of the challenges we've had with COVID, thank you, Mark, for mentioning that indeed South India has been in a very long lockdown recently. We've been allowed to reopen just 2 weeks ago. So for the past 2 weeks, we've finished already, I think, 110 samples today. It's been really hectic. We are working currently with about 15 brands. It's been really hectic to take all the samples out at the same time. It's a very busy season for everyone. I think for us, what's been really amazing is COVID last year and COVID this year has obviously been a crazy challenge. The brands we work with depend on us to achieve their own targets. This experience has, I think, forced us to deepen our relationship with the brands we work with, make sure that there was a very free-flowing communication as we work with and our team. We've now, since the pandemic happened, we've now found ways to have live TNAs online where each brands can check exactly what's the status of our production and subtitled live from our factory floor. We have more regular team meetings between the brand and the team in the factory. So I think for us, it's been a great way to connect a little bit more with the brands we work with.
Thank you so much, Vincent. That sounds really fantastic. So yeah, you can connect with Vincent in a breakout room in just a few moments. And next, we're going to look at Organic Cotton Colors. Organic Cotton Colors was founded in 1991, and they offer full service manufacturing. They control the whole supply chain, producing organic cotton directly through farmers in Brazil. So delighted to introduce you to Santi.
Hello, everyone. Thanks to join us and able to be here and explain you a little bit what we offer to any brand. All our manufacturing services are very complete. I mean, we offer a very personalized treatment with the brand, understanding what they want to produce, and it's a very complete program, which we have a person who listens, which is the most important at the beginning, suggest, and then transmit all this information to the guy that we have in Portugal, Joaquim Barbosa, which is a well-known manager on the industry and quality control for many big brands. So then this guy chooses the correct supplier and does the control in the place for all the process, the printing, dyeings, manufacturing. But also I would like to highlight that we always supply the material to our suppliers. So we control the whole chain of the material since the beginning, from the seeds that we spread to our farmers. And then we make the yarn in Barcelona, since we did 30 years ago. And then we supply this yarn to the knitting company. We make the fabrics, but we have all the control and custody chain of the material since the beginning to the final when we ship the products to our customers. So I think this gives a whole transparency that we can show with pictures and informations. We always supply these labels. I don't know if you can see where there is all the information where the cotton comes from, but also a QR code, which all the impacts in water, energy, eutrophication, and so on. So the brands can actually separate their production and their impacts to transmit to their customers. And now we are preparing a whole new manufacturing dossier that we will present shortly. So stay tuned in Organic in Instagram, and how printings, dyeings, and all these things are made, because we also produce our own furniture. I mean, the labels can be personalized with our cotton also. Sometimes it's hard to find these accessories in organic cotton. We are specialized in this fiber since 30 years that we produce 100% in organic cotton. We can also supply other fibers, but obviously there is not the same traceability. And then what we will offer in this new dossier will be a certain services that we believe all brands need. I mean, small brands or medium brands not are always specialized on several areas, very important to be success on the future. So we want to support them even in financial terms, or analyzing the complete collection that they have in mind, or even supplying them special printing. So we do this through certain professionals well known in the industry that we can present them, and we offer like a whole packages to bring this support in certain areas that not all brands are prepared. So I think it will be a very complete help for many brands to produce with lower quantities, and well, you can check our website on organiccottoncolors.com for all this information, and any doubt, but we can talk later, I guess.
Thank you very much, Santi. So yes, Santi's going to be in a breakout room as well. And just a very, very brief, that's fantastic, Santi, all of that. Just to very, very briefly tell you about two more suppliers who are both going to be sharing more about their businesses in a session in another day. The first is Evolve Clothing Company, who were founded in 1975, and their mission is that they have a strong commitment to diverse and empowered workforce, product quality, craftsmanship, and integrating sustainability into their processes. And then, yeah, they produce 2.2 million garments annually, menswear and women's wear. And you can learn more about Evolve on Thursday at 2 p.m. BST in the Impact at Scale session, where they are partners. And then also in that same session, so Thursday at 2 p.m., we will hear more from Fusion Clothing, who were founded in 1992 in Mumbai, India. They're a co-award winner, and they're a manufacturer of sustainable knitted clothing for men, women, kids, and babies. And they use fabrics such as organic cotton, recycled cotton, recycled polyester, tencel, and bamboo. So you can learn about both of those on Thursday. And I'll now hand back to Tamsin.
Thank you, Andy. Quite a roundup of pretty inspiring suppliers there. So this is, and this point, you now can join a breakout room. We have 2 breakout rooms in this session. This allows you to connect with some of the suppliers. You can unmute your mic and talk. We're really interested to hear from you on the challenges and how we can solve them. In the room, no doubt, there will be plenty of other experts who can solve the problems you may be facing, as well as a supplier who's able to answer your questions around the specifics of what you might be needing. So 2 breakout sessions today. We've organized it geographically in order to, because I know that depending on where you're based in the world and what you might be looking for. So in the India session, we have Nitwin and Deep. So join that session if you're interested in knowing more about production with either of those companies. And then the second session, we are looking at more global. So Mantis World, a representative from Mantis World, will tell you more about what they do. As you heard, they produce in Africa as well as other parts of the world. And Organic Cotton Colors, based in Europe, but producing in South America. I'm sure you can learn more about that too, and elsewhere, producing around the world.